Translator, Ninetales. Editor, Dark Gem. Within the shrine, the radiance dimmed in an instant, yet when the two maidens lifted their heads to gaze, they beheld the firmament above growing ever clearer and more resplendent, starlight intertwined with moonlight, each embellishing the other. In the mortal world beyond, when the moon shone bright, the stars would fade into obscurity. But here, beneath this vaulted shrine, moon and stars complemented one another, weaving a night sky of incomparable charm. Chinmu did not step back into the shrine. Instead, a bull's head soon emerged from behind the moon and plucked it away. The two girls were faintly incensed. This blockhead knows nothing of tender sentiments. Beneath such moonlight and starlight within this shrine, one need only utter a few pleasing words and it would be just you and me. Of course, I would first have to drive away that fox spirit beside me. Not long after, Ling Yuxiu and Si Yunxiang heard the clatter of tiles stacking together. The sky within the shrine gradually vanished. From time to time, a bull's head would pop up, plucking down one star after another. Their numbers dwindled steadily, until an hour after the sky had first been unveiled. The stars, the sun, and the moon had all been removed by Chinmu. The two girls stepped out of the shrine and beheld before them a mountain-like heap of luminous pearls, along with two enormous eyeballs whose pupils were sealed shut. Each eye stood some 3 yards tall, towering above them. They appeared carved from lustrous jade, not resembling living organs in the slightest, and thus were most likely sculpted from fine jade. Ling Yuxiu approached and saw that within the eyes were countless markings, intricate beyond measure. They were most likely formation inscriptions. The eyes were angled downward, sealing the formation within the pupil so that it appeared as a mere white line. The pupil itself could not be seen, only vein-like lines radiating outward like golden rays from the blazing sun. The two girls reached out to touch them and felt an icy chill at their fingertips. There was none of the scorching fire energy they had sensed earlier. I thought they were the eyes of a Taoti, yet they're made of jade. Si Yunxiang sounded faintly disappointed. Chinmu stood behind one of the jade eyes, toying with it. The girls could not tell what he was doing when suddenly the pupil of that eye split open slightly, like an apricot standing upright. Immediately, the two girls saw an incomparably complex formation activate within the opening pupil. It resembled a wondrous mechanism composed of innumerable interlocking gears. In the next instant, a terrifying flame burst forth from the pupil, burning with increasing ferocity. The mere sight of it caused their eyes to crack with pain. Si Yunxiang hurriedly pulled Ling Yuxiu away, and the two turned their gazes aside. With a whoosh, a beam of snow-white brilliance shot forth from the pupil, igniting the very air. Along its path, every white marble slab upon the ground was instantly transformed into molten lava, and even that lava began to evaporate. The beam struck several glazed roof tiles. Though those tiles bore rune inscriptions of their own, they were vaporized in an instant. Ling Yuxiu leapt back in shock. If that beam had struck me, would I not already be dead? Thankfully, Saintess Xiang pulled me away. Chinmu continued adjusting the rear of the jade eye. The two girls circled around to see that it was indeed a formation inscribed with runes. The formation was not overly complicated, yet its exact type was difficult to discern. Chinmu was channeling his vital qi to refine and regulate the formation. With his adjustments, the pupil of the jade eye gradually opened wider to both sides. The fire energy blazed ever more fiercely, like the scorching sun casting its heat in all directions. Even standing behind the eye, they felt a searing heat wave that was nearly unbearable. "Close your eyes," Chinmu said gravely. "I have unleashed the full power of the formation within this eye. Now I shall narrow the pupil into a slit to test the might of this spirit weapon." Spirit weapon? While the two girls were still stunned, Chinmu manipulated the formation to constrict the pupil. The light became incomparably dazzling. Ling Yuxiu and Si Yunxiang immediately shut their eyes. Even with their eyes closed, they could still sense a terrifying beam of light slicing outward like an extremely thin blade. Chinmu halted the formation. A faint hum issued from the jade eye. The light vanished, and the fire energy in the surroundings gradually dissipated. The two girls opened their eyes, yet darkness lingered before them. Such overwhelming brilliance had resulted in blindness. Their eyes had been scorched by the light. Though they had not gazed upon it directly, the radiance from the jade eye had still injured their pupils through their eyelids. Fortunately, their vital chi was dense, and such damage could heal on its own. Chinmu stepped out from behind the eye and looked upward. He could not help but freeze in astonishment. The shrine before them had been cleaved straight through its center by the blade of light from the jade eye. Though the shrine still stood tall, it could collapse at any moment. Moreover, in the sky of this underwater realm, there now lay a blade mark stretching across the heavens. A massive crack had opened in the barrier that bore the pressure of the deep sea. Seawater had already begun to seep inward. Chinmu stroked his chin and inadvertently tugged out several strands of his beard. The youth sucked in a sharp breath from the sting, yet it was not the pain of flesh that troubled him. It was the ache in his heart. In testing the Jade Eye's power, he had accidentally shattered the barrier of this strange underwater world. In a matter of days, seawater would flood this place entirely. Si Yunxiang watched as several droplets fell upon the shrine. The building, which had seemed incomparably sturdy, creaked at once, as if unable to bear the weight. It tilted to both sides, and with two thunderous rumbles, it split apart. Dust and smoke billowed, revealing gigantic beast bones. They were the bones of a Taoti. The creature had been pure-blooded, yet its skeleton too had been severed in two by the beam. When the shrine collapsed, the Taoti's bones were fully exposed, enormous beyond measure. The heavenly kings were right. Cult Master Qin truly demolishes everything wherever he goes. Si Yunxiang muttered. Ling Yuxiu also lamented inwardly at the waste. A shrine, a mysterious underwater realm, destroyed just like that by Chinmu's tinkering. The one who herds cows, you have a name but no nickname. Let me give you one. From now on, you are Demolisher. Demolisher Qin! Ling Yuxiu declared. Chinmu's heart was still aching. Hearing her words, his face flushed as he protested. I am not Demolisher Qin. I didn't demolish anything. Don't speak nonsense and ruin my innocence. Si Yunxiang sneered. You are innocent? The moment you arrived at Saint Arrival Mountain, you demolished the Hall of Three Kings. Ling Yuxiu also sneered. You've demolished Scholar's residence at least 3 times. Have you not? The palaces around the Temple of Heaven were also demolished under your leadership of the Heaven Devil cult, and I've heard Heaven Wave City was demolished by you as well. Just look. Moments after we arrived, this underwater world has already been demolished by you. This place has likely stood for tens of thousands of years, yet it perished the moment you came. In foul spirits, Chinmu muttered, Don't talk nonsense. Don't talk nonsense. The two girls teased Great Cult Master Qin while scavenging the ruins of the collapsed shrine for useful items. Soon, Ling Yuxiu carried over 2 enormous pillars and set them before Chinmu. Each pillar weighed tens of thousands of pounds, yet she bore them with sheer brute strength. Si Yunxiang praised. Truly, those with fuller figures are strong. Unlike Princess Xu, I am so weak I can scarcely stand against the wind. Ling Yuxiu flew into a rage and wished to shove this saintess to the ground and thrash her. However, with Chinmu present, it was improper. She ground her teeth and forced a smile. Indeed, Saintess Xiang is far too delicate, so skinny, there isn't even 2 tails of flesh upon your chest. Si Yunxiang bristled, her gaze turning icy. I am still young and growing. What use is being so large? When old age comes, will it not sag? The two locked eyes before turning away. Great Cult Master, can you refine these 2 pillars into spirit weapons? Ling Yuxiu asked gently. Chinmu was examining the other jade eye, striving to comprehend its mechanisms, and had not paid heed to their quarrel. This metal is rarely seen. It seems various metals have been fused together. Because of this, its quality and flexibility far surpass those of winter crystal iron. Chinmu inspected the pillars and was astonished. Divine arts practitioners of Eternal Peace Empire typically sought purity when refining spirit weapons. Yet these pillars did not pursue purity. By blending different metals into copper, their strength and pliancy had increased greatly. Can you refine the 9 dragons' weapons I require? Ling Yuxiu asked eagerly. Can, Chinmu replied with confidence. My smithing skills are superb. I do not boast without reason. He activated the formation within the Sun Jade Eye and melted 1 copper pillar, first forging a massive hammer. Then he had Ling Yuxiu manifest her spirit weapons form and demonstrate all the transformations of her 9 dragons' weapons. He pondered for a long while, then took up brush and paper to draft blueprints before beginning the forging process. 2 days later, Qin finally completed the 9 dragons' weapons. They consisted of 9 dragons that could merge into a colossal hammer, or separate and link tail to form the 9 dragons' divine flames shroud. The dragon bodies were supple. During forging, he had incorporated spirit creation technique, granting them myriad transformations. Though forged of metal, each dragon contained over 900 bones, allowing them to swim freely through the air. Every scale was independent and could detach from the dragon's body. These scales were razor sharp and could serve as standalone weapons. Aside from the scales, the dragon claws were like hooks, exceedingly sharp. Their teeth resembled blades. The 2 whiskers of each dragon were chains, soft yet strong, capable of binding foes. When the 9 dragons united, they formed the 9 dragons' golden wall. The scales became the mirror's surface, while behind it were the 9 dragon heads. Though Si Yunxiang and Ling Yuxiu lacked deep attainments in forging, they could clearly see that the 9 dragons' weapons Qin had crafted were exceptional. This weapon was perfectly suited to Ling Yuxiu. The princess rushed forward excitedly, transforming her vital qi into runes to imprint upon the 9 dragons' weapons, nourishing them with her qi. After testing them briefly, she found them easy to control, able to shift forms at her will. "Not bad, not bad," Ling Yuxiu praised repeatedly. "Coward, your craftsmanship is decent, just a little inferior to the assistant minister of the Ministry of Works." Si Yunxiang watched enviously and manifested her own spirit weapon, a thread capable of myriad transformations. Who would have thought tempered steel could become so soft it coils about the fingers? To forge a spirit weapon that can wind around one's finger is not achieved merely by hammering metal. Cult Master, my spirit weapon is called Thousand Silks. It is both sword and spell, imitating the great educational heavenly devil scriptures of our heavenly saint cult. Can you refine metal as soft as silk? Qin studied its form and frowned. To refine such a sword as fine as silk, while inscribing spell imprints upon it, poses considerable difficulty. I have learned the method before, but never attempted forging it. Let me try. Si Yunxiang's 1,000 silks was far more troublesome than Ling Yuxiu's 9 dragons' weapons. It required the metal to be hammered to the utmost limits of flexibility, then spread into a membrane thinner than natural silk. The thickness of silk is 1 si. Beyond si lie hu, wei, xian, sha, chen, ai, miao, mo, and even finer gradations. Qin could only reduce the metal membrane to chen and ai. Any finer, and it would exceed his ability. At such thinness, the runic markings had to be even more intricate. Both he and Si Yunxiang cultivated great educational heavenly devil scriptures, so they labored together to imprint every rune upon the membrane. During the process, it tore several times, forcing him to reforge it. Afterward, Qin carefully folded the metal membrane and tempered it anew, before spreading it open once more to re-imprint the runes. Repeating this process again and again, he finally succeeded in forging 1,000 silks. Si Yunxiang's heart stirred. 1,000 silks transformed into a ribbon and coiled itself around her waist. The seawater in the underwater world steadily rose. They could not remain much longer. Qin immediately transformed his vital qi into threads, weaving a net to wrap the 2 jade eyes and the stars as he said, "Let's go up." The 3 hurried toward the massive cauldron. As Si Yunxiang approached, her eyes gleamed. She attempted to lift the cauldron to take it away, but it was unimaginably heavy. No matter how she exerted herself, it did not move an inch. "Your chest is small, so you're weak," Ling Yuxiu snickered. "Then try it with your big chest." Si Yunxiang retorted angrily. Ling Yuxiu stepped forward, but had not expected the cauldron to be so heavy. Even she could not lift it. Her face flushed crimson. Qin shook his head. "This cauldron spews out such spirit water, rising 5,000 yards to the spring above. The weight of the water alone rivals a mountain, not to mention the cauldron itself. This is certainly a divine artifact. Abandon thoughts of taking it." The 2 girls sighed regretfully and followed Qin upward. After some time, they surfaced. Ling Yuxiu smiled. "We obtained quite a few treasures this time. It was not a wasted trip." How many treasures did Princess obtain? What treasures might they be? A voice sounded from beside the pond. The three hurriedly looked over. They saw Long Jiaonan seated upon the head of a massive red serpent, its enormous body coiled around the pond. Long Jiaonan smiled faintly, her gaze sweeping across their faces. She said to Qin Mu, "How thoughtful of Cult Master to give me such an exercise in seeking you out." "Die!" Ling Yuxiu and Si Yunxiang struck the water's surface and soared into the air, activating Nine Dragons' weapons and Thousand Silks to attack Long Jiaonan without a word. Translator, Nine Tails. Editor, Dark Gem. Long Jiaonan let out a cold sneer. Ling Yuxiu and Si Yunxiang had only just stepped into the Six Directions realm, while she and the Scarlet Serpent were already masters of the Seven Stars realm. Any who stepped into Seven Stars could be appointed a general within Eternal Peace Empire. Before Dragon Rider sect had raised its banner in rebellion, Long Jiaonan had entered the army in male attire and secured an official post. With the strength Ling Yuxiu and Si Yunxiang possessed, they were utterly unworthy to contend against her and the Red Snake. Courting death! Long Jiaonan flipped her palm, and her vital qi surged forth, transforming into a colossal python that coiled behind her form, jaws agape. The surrounding air was instantly drawn toward its maw as it sought to swallow the two maidens suspended in midair. Though Dragon Rider sect was not famed for spellcraft, the might of their techniques was by no means negligible. Under the reforms of the Imperial Preceptor, Dragon Rider sect had absorbed the strengths of other sects, elevating the power of their spells by an entire level. This dragon python swallowing heaven had already reached the Samadhi state, yet Ling Yuxiu grasped her 9 dragons' weapons and raised them high before smashing downward. In midair, bolts of lightning gathered in an instant, crackling violently as they struck upon her 9 dragons' weapons. The weapon transformed into the 9 dragons' hammer and collided with the vast maw of the vital qi python. The eruption of lightning power instantly shattered Long Jiaonan's spell, causing her vital qi to disintegrate. As astonishment flickered across Long Jiaonan's face, Si Yunxiang waved her hand and a slender thread shot forth, stabbing toward her left eye. Long Jiaonan flicked her fingers repeatedly, yet the thread remained unaffected and continued its flight. Si Yunxiang's middle and index fingers pointed at Long Jiaonan, her fingertips striking again and again. The tip of Thousand Silks transformed ceaselessly, executing sword moves of exquisite intricacy. Saintess Xiang's swordsmanship is not bad. Long Jiaonan's left sleeve swept back and forth as her vital qi transformed into a jade annulus, disrupting the sword trails rushing toward her. Yet at that moment, she noticed that Si Yunxiang's right hand rested before her body, while her left hand was hidden behind it. That hidden hand was also forming sword seals, which alarmed her and forced her to rise instantly into the sky. The instant she did so, she saw her violet dress flutter as thousands of holes tore open across it, wind whistling through from every direction. Meanwhile, in the heavens above, Ling Yuxiu lifted her massive hammer and smashed down. Long Jiaonan raised her hand to block. A thunderous roar erupted as flames burst from the enormous hammer. Its force was incomparably terrifying, blasting Long Jiaonan away with a single strike. 9 Dragons' Monarch technique was naturally a supreme technique, its attainments in spellcraft extraordinarily high. The magic power it accumulated was like a boundless sea. In the same realm or below, the magic power cultivated through 9 Dragons' Monarch technique was the densest of all. Save for Qin Mu's Overlord Body 3 Elixir technique, moreover, Emperor Yanfeng was the most brilliant sovereign since the founding of Eternal Peace Empire, long since becoming a great expert of his generation. He had refined 9 Dragons' Monarch technique, adding transformations of battle arts and sword skills, allowing its power to far surpass what it had once been. Ling Yuxiu cultivated precisely this technique, and the path she followed fused battle arts with spellcraft. By unleashing martial techniques and spells simultaneously, she amplified the might of her attacks. Thus, though Long Jiaonan stood in Seven Stars' realm, she was caught off guard by the combined assault of the 2 maidens and was blasted away. The moment Ling Yuxiu's feet touched the ground, she released her hammer. The 9 Dragons' hammer separated into 9 dragon-shaped weapons that swiftly recombined. Countless scales shifted and transformed into a mirror. Ling Yuxiu stood behind the mirror, and with a resonant hum, a beam of light shot forth. Within it, golden dragons seemed to soar and coil as it shone upon the retreating body of Long Jiaonan. Si Yunxiang rushed forward at once, passing through the mirror's beam. Her sword threads coiled and slashed toward Long Jiaonan, who was struck by the mirror light. "Xiao Hong!" Long Jiaonan cried sternly. Raising her palm, she caused the earth to tremble as several hundred stone spikes shot upward, blocking both Si Yunxiang's path and the mirror's radiance. Behind the two maidens, the colossal red serpent suddenly extended its body. As thick as a pillar embraced by several men, it swept forward with boundless force. Should they be struck by this monstrous bulk, they would be gravely injured or shattered outright. The true trump card of Dragon Rider sect was not cultivation, nor magic power, nor even divine arts. It was the dragon they spoke of. The serpents they raised were a special breed, carrying the bloodline of flood dragons. Even if the cultivator's own strength was lacking, the serpents they nurtured would possess the ability to slay their foes. Long Jiaonan's red serpent was among the most exceptional of its kind. It was akin to the Dragon King's flood dragon of the divine bridge realm. This serpent shared an exceedingly close kinship with it. And its flood dragon bloodline was remarkably pure. A single snake was enough to sweep through all within Seven Stars' realm. Long Jiaonan had relied upon this beloved pet to establish her fearsome reputation. The red serpent's ferocious power barreled forward. Yet, just as it was about to crush the two maidens, a scorching beam of light shot from behind its body. The serpent was stunned as it saw its own body sliced cleanly in half by that beam. The severed half writhed wildly, smashing through the forest in fragments. Beside the pond, behind the massive snake, stood Qin Mu, holding a gigantic eyeball that emitted a blazing beam. Naturally, it was this strike that had cleaved the serpent in two. The red serpent hissed in agony, spewing forth a dense cloud of venomous mist as it lunged at Qin Mu with the remainder of its body. This poisonous fog was lethally toxic, and Qin Mu had no desire to be tainted by it. He shifted his stance and executed heavenly pilfering divine legs, evading the red serpent's assault. His speed was astonishing. Before the serpent could react, he was already in the sky. From above, Qin Mu looked down and saw that the city of the Solomon Seals had been utterly destroyed. The Solomon Seals that had dwelled among the trees were swept away as well. It was clear that after discovering this place, Long Jiaonan had mercilessly slaughtered and captured all the Solomon Seals, razing their dwelling to the ground. Long Jiaonan must have extracted news of Qin Mu and the others from those Solomon Seals, for they possessed no loyalty and were quick to betray. Qin Mu's expression darkened. Though these Solomon Seals lacked loyalty, they had aided his group, and those who had offered aid were benefactors. Suddenly, the enormous head of the red serpent shot upward, jaws opening to an extreme degree. Its mouth nearly formed the shape of an eye as it bit toward him. Die! Qin Mu adjusted the jade eye, and with a resonant hum, a beam shot straight down the serpent's throat. All flesh touched by the light melted away. The blazing beam struck the ground, melting it instantly and forming a pit. Boiling lava vaporized into steam, condensing into beads of molten stone that fell from the sky as they cooled. It was like a rain of rocks. The red serpent's leap was astonishingly powerful. Its massive body swallowed both Qin Mu and the jade eye. Yet as its flesh had been pierced clean through, a passageway was opened within it. Even its brain had been pierced. Qin Mu's body descended to the ground. Behind him, the red serpent fell like a torn sack, exuding the fragrance of cooked meat. "Xiao Hong!" Long Jiaonan's miserable cry echoed from afar. The three women had already fought their way to the sea's surface and were clashing fiercely upon the water. Over the sea, water was easily manipulated, and Long Jiaonan's vital qi fused with the seawater, transforming into pythons that attacked from all directions with astonishing force. Yet it was a pity that Ling Yushu and Si Yunxiang's spirit weapons were too refined and their power too formidable. Confronting Long Jiaonan head-on, Ling Yushu could split her 9 dragons' weapons into 9 pieces, transforming them into 9 dragon-shaped blades that surged up and down, left and right, colliding with and destroying incoming spells. They could also shift into a defensive form, 9 Dragon's Shield, blocking Long Jiaonan's assaults at any time. Meanwhile, Si Yunxiang's techniques were even more bizarre. As unpredictable as her 1,000 silks, they vanished within the waters one moment and appeared above Long Jiaonan's head the next, rendering her defenses futile. Though 1,000 silks was slender, it was lethally sharp and posed the greatest threat to Long Jiaonan. When the red serpent perished, Long Jiaonan's state of mind faltered. Si Yunxiang seized the flaw. The spirit weapon hummed and transformed into a slender sword blade, piercing straight through Long Jiaonan's heart. The sword tip emerged from her back. Just as Si Yunxiang landed the decisive blow, Ling Yuxiu extended her hand. The 9 dragons merged into a hammer and smashed into Long Jiaonan's body. Cracking sounds rang out as countless bones shattered, piercing through her skin. With broken bones protruding from her flesh, Long Jiaonan became a ghastly, blood-soaked sight. Si Yunxiang withdrew 1,000 silks. Long Jiaonan's body trembled before plunging into the seawater. Ling Yuxiu cried out, "She still has our spirit weapons!" Si Yunxiang hurriedly lifted Long Jiaonan's corpse, nearly allowing it to sink. She muttered, "I had already struck the killing blow, yet she still had to hammer the body. Look how shattered her bones are. I can barely carry her properly." The 2 maidens dragged Long Jiaonan's corpse back to the island and began searching her body for treasures. They found only the Tao Ti sack, which they opened. Inside were all their spirit weapons and various other treasures. Si Yunxiang poured the contents out. Countless corpses of the Solomon's seals tumbled forth, piling into a small mountain. Nearly 10,000 Solomon's seal corpses stacked together rose only 3 yards high. Yet these Solomon's seals bore human shapes, and 10,000 such bodies piled together was a harrowing sight. An indescribable sorrow hung in the air. Cult Master, I finally understand. This is not the strong preying upon the weak. From the corner of her eye, Si Yunxiang saw Qin Mu walking slowly over. A faint trace of sorrow lay hidden in the eyes of the devil cult saintess as she said softly, "This is definitely not the strong preying upon the weak, but rather playing with others' lives to fulfill selfish desires." When she slaughtered these Solomon seals, she must have felt like a god. Qin Mu came to her side and said, separated from nature, she could not comprehend that. These Solomon seals were originally spirit herbs. Even in death, their roots remain. If we plant them beside that spirit spring, they may return to life. Let us do so. The 2 maidens nodded. Planting 10,000 Solomon seals was exhausting, but fortunately they were divine arts practitioners. By nightfall, they had planted them all. Si Yunxiang went to gather firewood, while Ling Yuxiu fetched spring water to irrigate the Solomon seals. Qin Mu sorted the Tao Ti sack, placing the 2 jade eyes within before setting over 3,000 jade-quality luminous pearls upon the shore. Each pearl emitted a captivating glow. Si Yunxiang returned with firewood and lit a bonfire upon the beach. Then she removed her outer garments and leapt into the sea, clad only in her undergarments. Her undergarments resembled a skirt with shoulder straps, woven from pure white silk without embroidery. On her lower body were white underpants, 3 inches in length, fastened with delicate straps tied to her snow-white thighs. After a time, Si Yunxiang emerged carrying a massive fish, which she tossed beside Qin Mu. Circulating her vital qi, she dried her undergarments before dressing once more. Only then did she notice that Qin Mu had dragged Long Jiaonan's corpse beside the bonfire, along with the 2 halves of the red serpent. She asked in confusion, "Cult Master, what are you doing?" "Guarding the corpse, waiting for her to awaken." Si Yunxiang burst into laughter. "If you wait 2 more days, the corpse will begin to stink. I pierced her heart, and Princess Xu shattered her bones. How could she possibly live?" When Ling Yuxiu approached and saw Long Jiaonan's corpse, she frowned. "Coward, are there strange customs in Great Ruins?" Qin Mu kicked Long Jiaonan's corpse and sneered, "Sister Long, cease your act. I've seen you shed your skin before." The 2 maidens smiled. "It would be better to bury her soon." Qin Mu sneered coldly. "Before burying her, I must first sever her head. My blade thirsts for blood." As he spoke, he drew his pig slaughter knife, his expression grim. Ling Yuxiu and Si Yunxiang were both startled. Ling Yuxiu whispered, "Saintess Xiang, is there truly some custom in Great Ruins about beheading corpses?" "I do not know either. Perhaps there really is such a strange habit in Great Ruins." Just as Si Yunxiang spoke, the sound of human skin splitting echoed out. It came from the crown of Long Jiaonan's head.